Life as We Know It with Tom Walton.
I was watching Jeopardy one evening recently, something I try to do every weeknight, when the rarest of rarities occurred. I got a response correctly, and not one of the three contestants on the show had a clue, so to speak. I'm not sure I'm recalling word for word the clue they did have, but it went something like this. Canadian singer Gordon Lightfoot memorialized this Great Lakes freighter after it sank mysteriously in 1975. The correct response, of course, was, "What is the Edmund Fitzgerald?" I was astonished that none of the three folks with buzzers in their hands weighed in. I think Alex Trebek was taken aback too, judging from the look on his face. But should I have been surprised? Even though Lightfoot's mournful ballad, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, became hugely popular, and by the way, I'm not sure popular is the right word, given the tragedy that inspired it, and despite the fact that to this day we do not know exactly what sent the Big Fitz to the bottom of Lake Superior, I think millions of Americans have simply forgotten about it. When the most famous shipwreck in the history of the Great Lakes is no longer famous, to the point that not even trivia experts like Jeopardy contestants don't know about it, it's time to acknowledge the obvious. Unless we have a personal stake in something, our attention span is relatively short. I do have a personal stake in the Fitzgerald tragedy. As a young man, I got my first real job as a member of the Fitzgerald crew. And 12 years later, when the great ship went down, my uncle, my father's brother, was among the 29 men lost. It was upsetting to be reminded that so many Americans don't seem to care. They might remember the song when they hear it on the radio, but unlike the loss of the Titanic in the North Atlantic in 1912, which evidently has been seared into our collective consciousness forever, the loss of the Fitzgerald has already faded. My Jeopardy experience that night a few weeks ago made me wonder what other significant incidents and episodes from our past have been largely forgotten thanks to indifference in the passage of time. Moreover, it made me wonder if I remember things only because I'm of a certain age. None of the three contestants that night appeared to be over the age of 50. Still, they were contestants on Jeopardy, and you don't score a spot on that show without demonstrating a working knowledge of history. I'll bet that if you asked 100 Toledoans strolling the corridors of Franklin Park Mall if they knew what the name Edmund Fitzgerald was all about, at least half would know its significance. However, if you ask the same question of 100 people in a mall in, say, Topeka, Kansas, I doubt you'd find 10 who would get it right. That doesn't make us smarter than the folks in Kansas, just more aware about things that affected this area so deeply. I'm sure Kansans know a lot more than most of us do about the Dust Bowl calamity in the Great Plains in the 1930s. It's part of who they are. It's in their DNA. Still, it's distressing that a tragedy which impacted our region and my family so much is no longer relevant in many other parts of the land.
Life as We Know It is written and hosted by Tom Walton and is a production of WGTE Public Media. Life as We Know It with Tom Walton can be heard on WGTE FM 91 every Monday afternoon during All Things Considered at 5:44 p.m. Or hear past episodes at wgte.org/life.